Hello. Tonight's story is Winnie the Pooh, the Merry Christmas Mystery. It was a very snowy night before Christmas. Winnie the Pooh was so excited he'd had a hard time getting to sleep. He was thinking about the next day when he and his friends would decorate the great pine tree and then gather around it for their annual Christmas sing-along. When he finally drifted off, Pooh dreamed of all the wonderful honey treats he was sure that Santa would bring him. The next morning, Pooh raced to his Christmas stocking, but instead of the honey treats he was hoping for, he found a very puzzling present. "I wonder why Santa bought me thistles," said Pooh. "But they are very nice thistles." Achoo! Unfortunately, thistles made Pooh sneeze. Pooh tried to get his mind off sneezing by practicing for the sing-along. He sang, "Christmas is a time to share, to show your friends how much you..." He sneezed again. "A smackerel of honey will cure my sneezing," said Pooh. But when he went to the cupboard, all his jars were empty. "Maybe Piglet will bring some honey when he stops by," said Pooh thoughtfully. Just then there was a knock on the door. Pooh opened it and he was startled by what he saw. Standing there was a mysterious creature with a long orange fur and a large round head. "Don't be scared, Pooh, it's me, Piglet," his small friend announced. "Santa bought me this coat for Christmas. It's a bit big, but it should keep me nice and warm when we decorate the tree." "It wouldn't happen to have any honey in the pockets, would it?" said Pooh. Piglet checked. "There's no honey, only the acorn ornaments he'd made." "That reminds me," said Pooh, "I have to take along my decoration for the great pine tree." Pooh took a chain of golden honey pots for the Christmas tree, and then he and Piglet rushed through the frosty white forest to meet their friends. "Whoops," said Piglet as he tripped over his long coat. "Oh, bother," said Pooh. "I guess Santa forgot your size." When they arrived at the great pine tree, Pooh wished everyone a Merry Christmas. "How do you like my thistles, Santa?" "Bought me," said Pooh. "They're beautiful," Eeyore answered wistfully. "As beautiful as this coat rack Santa bought me." Rabbit stepped forward. "That's not a coat rack, Eeyore. It's a very fine rake," he said admiringly. Pooh noticed that Rabbit was wearing a tiny pair of earmuffs. "Santa bought them," Rabbit said. "And I got this tiggerific jar of honey," said Tigger. Pooh held his empty tummy and said, "Does it taste good?" "How would I know? Tiggers hate honey," said his bouncy friend. "But it was nice of Santa to think of me." "Santa bought me something to eat too," said Roo, showing his friends a jar of crunchy cookies. "Do they have any honey on them?" Pooh said hopefully. "No," said Roo. "They're made of birdseed. They taste terrible, but Santa was nice to bring them." "Santa has sure left some puzzling presents," said Piglet. "It's a mystery," said Pooh, "but I like mysteries." "Well then," said Rabbit, "here's another mystery for you. Where's Owl?" "He's late," Piglet said. "This is very mysterious," Pooh agreed. "Owl is never late." The friends decided to go ahead and start decorating the great pine tree because Owl's part in the ceremony always came last. After they finished hanging the ornaments, they waited for Owl, and they waited and waited and waited some more. "I'm cold," said Tigger. "And I'm hungry," said Pooh. "Ah, here comes some. Have some honey," said Tigger, and Pooh gratefully accepted. "If you're cold, Tigger, take my coat," said Piglet. "Gee, it fits perfectly," said Tigger. "And I bet those earmuffs will keep your ears much warmer than mine," said Rabbit, and he placed the fuzzy earmuffs on Roo's ears. Pooh was halfway through his pot of honey when he noticed Eeyore looking longingly at the thistles. "Oh, would you like my thistles, Eeyore?" "Thanks for noticing me," said Eeyore, accepting his favourite treats. "I don't suppose anybody could use this rake." Rabbit looked eagerly at the tool. "Thank you, Eeyore," he said. "It's just what I need." Roo looked down at the jar of birdseed cookies. "If anybody would like these cookies, I'd be happy to share them," he said. "Oh, thank you, Roo," said Owl, swooping down from a tree. He took a bite of the cookies and declared it to be delicious. Then he said, "Sorry if I'm late, but I got lost on my way here." Owl's friends wondered how he could get lost in the 100-acre wood. "I'll show you," said Owl. He led them a short distance to the road sign. "Here's the problem. These arrows are all mixed up, so I ended up going in the wrong direction." The friends studied the signpost carefully. Sure enough, the arrow that should have been pointing to Owl's house was turned so it pointed to Eeyore's house. And the arrow that was at Eeyore's house was pointed towards Pooh's house. In fact, all the arrows were pointing the wrong way. "The signpost must have gotten turned round in the snowstorm," said Rabbit. Pooh scratched his head thoughtfully. "I think we've just solved our mystery." "That's right," said Piglet. "I'll bet Santa got confused and delivered our presents to the wrong houses." "Do you mean these mittens aren't really for me?" Owl said, pointing to a small pair of purple mittens hanging round a string round his neck. No, Owl, these birdseed cookies are for you, said Pooh. Now, think, think, think. Who could those mittens be for? Piglet gently cleared his throat. Owl smiled and handed the mittens to Piglet. Of course, Piglet, they'll fit you much better. After he straightened the sign, the friends returned to the great pine tree. Soon Kangaroo arrived with hot chocolate and cakes and honey, as she did every year. And Christopher Robin bought a beautiful shiny star, as he did every year. I was hoping you'd come, said Pooh. I always do, said Christopher Robin. Owl flew the shiny star to the top of the tree, just like he did every year. And then as the soft snow began to fall, the friends joined hands and sang, Christmas is a time to share, to show your friends how much you care. Whether they are big or small, friends are the very best gifts of all. When the song was finished, Tigger said, I hope Santa brings us all some more puzzling presents next year so we can swap them again. Yes, it's nice to have a mystery for Christmas, Pooh said, as long as there's honey to go with it. Christopher Robin chuckled and said, Silly old bear. And then he bent down and gave Pooh a very special Christmas hug. Right, it's time for you to go to bed. Good night.